Oh, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Why are these different? Oh my god. I see, and this is why we do this. This is why, even though you're doing stuff right now, that I'm going to continue to
Mm-hmm.
do stuff, because even though I changed it, made sure everything lined up painstakingly for one whole hour, it's still, I come in here and it's like, no, no, it's not.
Said
I don't even
absolutely
have your
not.
camera. But
There we
luckily that's
go.
pretty easy. Copy guest spot one. I just don't like having to do it every time, because then I can't do it till you're on, you know? So if I'm on here like 45 minutes early trying to like get everything all together, it's like, don't like that. Okay. And we will make you a normal
What
size
is...
picture.
Sorry, I'm going through all my screens. Oh yeah, this is what Sean did. Look how cute with the light bulb. Okay. Adorable.
I can't see it. Um,
Sorry,
there's
it's
that.
just me.
Hold.
This is a whole array of things. Okay.
Okay. I
Oh
see
yeah,
some things that
Sean
I
was
need
like,
to
if you
address.
want to do shorts, you need to have everything be vertical, and so you can
Oh,
trim it.
God
I
bless you
was,
guys for figuring that out,
I
because that
was
ain't
like,
easy.
that's a lot. Oh.
Well, send them to me and I'll post them. I just will not create them. But if you
That's
want
super
like
fair.
more action on it or whatever, or I can, is there, if there's a way to like when you
Yeah.
like retweet, if there's a reel,
Repost. Post
repost,
again.
repost, post again,
Let me put
to
my
post
little
once
put my
more.
captions.
Um, what a DB subscribed again. 6 month streak. That means we've been back streaming for 6 months.
That's crazy. If that time has flown. Oh my god.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's pretty cray. Um, so yeah,
What do I
for
have to...
those of you that don't know, for those of you inquiring minds, this is Vulgar Science, where we talk about science vulgarly. I am Dr. Neurolisha.
And I am Layla. I was gonna Dr. Layla Shode.
Yeah,
You know,
fucking put doctor.
dead.
We earned it. We earned
We
it.
did earn it. We did earn it.
We earned it. Sometimes we'll say it, sometimes we won't. It's on my overlay. I have to put it somewhere. I don't even have my degree printed out. It's somewhere.
You don't have a printed out degree? Seriously?
No, because I deferred my convocation so that I convocated on the same day as you,
Mm-hmm.
even though we were in the same
Yeah,
ceremony,
yeah.
even though we were in the same program. Don't even
Mm-hmm.
start. Um, but because I did that, they had my paper ready for my like first actual one,
Mm-hmm.
and they like log it somewhere, and they're like, you can retrieve it in person at wherever the grad.
Yeah. First.
And by the
Mm-hmm.
time I got there for the second one, they were like, we don't keep them that long. And I didn't want to pay
Bruh.
$15 to get it mailed. I was gonna ask
Bruh.
you to do it, but you were in the middle of finishing your PhD, and I was like, if someone asked me to do just the smallest task when I was finishing,
I
I would
mean,
have
that
broken
one,
like a
that
twig.
I would be willing. That's like a sizable, like, mine is framed on my
My
wall because
microphone is over
I
there. I hadn't
said,
put my
I done did
yeah.
earned
Well,
it. Hello,
yeah.
Misadventures in Astro. Welcome in.
Yes. Thank you so much for the lurk. We appreciate lurkers hella lots.
Yes, seriously.
So we appreciate chatters too. We're equal enthusiasts of
Equal
people
opportunists.
around. Yeah, we are. Um,
Sorry, I'm
and I'm
just...
trying to get to 400 followers. I'm at 364, and we have to figure out a way that I can put your
This is
follow
better.
goal above you on my stream, so that we can, you know, make it interactive for the folks.
Dead. I'm like, what a DB, if you're on mine and then also get a grip, if you want to look at my screen and see what you like better as far as portrait VS versus the VS joint, I feel like we're just so small in one of them. And I don't know how I feel about it. It's really cute though what Sean did here, so I'm like, I'm compelled to show it. Show it off.
Show, show bobs.
Show Bob's.
I fucking love show bobs, man. I hate that I
Why
have to
is this
readjust
why
the
is this
stupid fucking
busted?
thing every time.
Wow. I did not know that this could be actually so awful. Um, so typically this is just like just explaining tech issues. So Alicia will likely have no tech issues this time because my thing is going crazy. I'm gonna just show y'all for 2 seconds uh what the hell is going on. This is OneNote, which is essentially just like a function of um Microsoft where you can just make notes. And this is how we have been like collaborating on like these episodes is we'll make
Mm-hmm.
notes. And it's just constantly refreshing right now. And I don't know why it's doing that. It just decided that it wants
That's
to.
what it was doing to me.
And it
So you
has
have to bookmark it and go to the bookmark, but even that sometimes does not work. So that's
actually
just fun.
insane. So, yeah, hella busted. Microsoft, get your shit together. Probably somebody AI coded something incorrectly, and now it looks like that.
Not me vibe coding for 8 straight hours today.
what were you doing?
Well, I'm trying to. So, most of the peeps here know what I did for my PhD had a lot to do with like
Mm-hmm.
the rodent grimace scale. So, what I'm trying to do is make it so that workflow is less of like an absolute pain in the dick.
Yeah.
Because what
Okay.
we used to have to do is live watch a video,
Yeah.
pause it when the rat or the mouse is facing the camera, screen grab it, take that screen grab, put it in a PowerPoint,
Yep.
make sure you label it, but behind the picture, because you have to stay blinded, because that's science, baby. And then you had to go through and do that. And I was like, there must be a better way. And I
Mm-hmm.
tried doing this a couple of years ago before vibe coding was like a thing that was pretty easily accessible
Yeah.
and could not figure it out. Talked to people in computer science and they were like, you could for sure do that, but it'd be pretty tough. And now it turns out not tough at all.
Not tough at all, actually. Make
Not
it.
tough at all to vibe code. I think it actually would be relatively difficult to do it an AI assisted unless you were like a genius about that. Because I
Yeah. I
tried
mean.
doing it a little bit, editing the Python, like copy and pasting chunks that I, had knew did the right thing.
Yeah.
But now I made a whole like web app, burned a rainforest probably, but
Not clapping for Burner Rainforest, please don't. Yeah, I was.
yeah.
Yeah. I went. Oh.
Uh,
No, literally. I feel that. I feel like my ADHD has been particularly bad these past few weeks, and I feel like I find myself relying on AI tools more, and then I just feel guilty for doing that because I'm like, I'm
because we know
act
better.
actively destroying the environment, and I am a smart person and should be able to do this by myself, and then I just feel worse about it. It's like,
I
okay,
think the thing that bothers me is the fact that it's being used anyway when I don't want it. Like, if I just want to
yeah,
do a normal Google, if I want to be like, what's the conversion rate of something?
yeah,
Then it'll give me some like dick ass AI answer. Or if I'm looking for like, say, images for the D&D campaign that I'm like running for Dan,
mm-hmm,
and I would just want a picture of like a half orc or something like that. It's like, here's a whole bunch of fucking, what do you call it? Stable diffusion shit show pictures with 9 fingers. Actually, most of them are really nice, and I hate that. But it shows you the AI stuff immediately, and even when you're not looking for it.
yeah,
And
I
then when
know,
I try and use it for science, which is I think probably one of the few like fully justifiable reasons to do it,
mm-hmm,
I feel bad. But anyways,
yeah, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, it's
inshallah it gets better.
inshallah, inshallah.
I'm trying to give you guys a opportunity to use the new emote. Vulgar Science Layla has
Yeah.
a new emote of Anne Hathaway saying inshallah.
Inshallah, I hope so. Talking about she just drops it casually in an interview,
Yeah.
and the young Muslim child
So
that
good.
still lives inside of me was like,
Yeah.
Habibi.
Habibi. Yalla Habibi.
Yes. And it was like, it came with so many memes. It's like, are you wearing the Chanel hijab? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
It's like,
I live. Yeah, DuckDuckGo is definitely one that my mom was all about it when she's like, they take your data. I'm like, Mom, they've been taking your data for like 9 years on Facebook and you never
yeah.
gave a shit. You just give a shit now because it was on CNN and fucking what's that guy with the white hair? He's handsome and gay.
Anderson
He's a
Cooper.
Rothschild. Oh yeah, that one. Because Anderson Cooper's like your data or whatever. But until then, no one cared. They're just like, here's my phone number on the internet. But anyways, she uses DuckDuckGo and she's all about it. She like proselytizes about DuckDuckGo.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is DuckDuckGo started as like conspiracy theorist search tool. And I was like, as much as I like hate the algorithm, I was like, it's kind of helping me because if I type in NAPS and I'm looking for North American Pain School and it knows that I've regularly gone to this website, and instead of just coming up with the result, which is like taking naps at work is not isn't like that kind of thing. It's like naps are
like I don't want to hear that kind of bullshit.
Yeah. Be like, I fucking wish. Yeah, so anyways.
I actively hate how helpful it is, but I'm always trying to remember the things that we learned in the AI stream that we did, where the biggest takeaway was using it as an assist when you've already got your idea rolling, and like refinement
I
is
think
fine.
about
It's
that
like spell check
all the time, honestly. I genuinely am like, I constantly think about how like that it's like the seed should be like a human seed, and I think that there's relevance.
That's a great way to put
it.
Did we already do that metaphor?
Or no, I think that's like an actual term that people use when they like put things into AI. They call them like seeds, and then like
seeds.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being creative.
No,
I was going to give you full credit. I was prepared to be like, oh, look at Miss Metaphor. No.
Like AI, I'm crowdsourcing from human cognition. But yeah,
we gotta do it. Yeah. So yeah, today we're talking about, it's our second one in the series. We had started a series on stress, trauma, fear, etc. What happens in your body, what are the sources of it, and then our third one's going to be how do you deal with that. But this is the second one, so
yeah. I'm afraid. I love that. Or no, it's not I'm afraid, it's I fear that. That's such a Gen Z expression, and I'm like obsessed with it.
Is
honestly,
it really?
It's like instead of saying, "Oh, I'm afraid that blah blah blah," it's I fear that this is caused blah 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 blah. I fear is like very much a you haven't heard that?
Deeply out of touch?
Yeah, girl, you gotta get back on that horse.
What horse?
I don't know. Social media. Hanging out with the young people.
I was near a horse more recently than you, a real live one. I can say that for a fucking fact.
Yeah. I'm like constantly, I'm like hyper aware of my age, I think, because I work with like a lot of, I still, like, I guess do you have a lot of like young CRCs and undergraduate students that you work with now, or no?
I have 2 students, and they're an age of 22, 21, because she just got able to drink. Right. Yeah, that's young.
You're like 19 because we're in Canada still? No.
Welcome in, old man Felonious.
Hello. I meant to say hello. Yeah, I love this ninja emote. Where is that?
The seed should be a human seed. I didn't really catch on how that sounds.
Yeah, I know. Human seed goes into robot. What does that? What is produced?
I do not want to ask that question.
No, I don't want to know either. We briefly stay on topic. Okay, enough with the shades.
Well, we always start with a little debrief about life and the world, and a little. You gotta. It's an icebreaker.
Yeah.
We're not running a military operation here. We're running a stream.
Honestly, like my fears lately have been really. Again, I was kind of talking about how I've been like my ADHD's been really bad, and I've been like having small existential crises about trying to be an academic in the current environment that we're in. I fear that I am considering going to med school.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
I also fear that I am considering applying to clinical psychology program.
That's
so
crazy. Do you want to know what's even crazier? Is I looked into it recently and I was like, not too hard. Too hard.
I know. I was like, look, I'm like, okay, I don't have physics credits, so I'd have to go back and take physics if I want to go to med school in the
This has to
States.
pass the MCAT.
Yeah, and then I would have to take the
And not
MCAT.
just pass
But
it, do
but
well.
there are, I found this out during this process, again, deep dive. There are 3 Canadian accredited medical schools that do not require the MCAT. And I was like, well,
They're super competitive though.
no. One of them is in
What?
so
Which one is this?
University of Ottawa is McGill University. If you have a Canadian undergraduate degree, you do not need to take it. So McGill is competitive, yes. University of Ottawa is not like the most competitive, but is still competitive as far as med school. I mean, all Canadian institutions are competitive compared to American, just because there's like fewer of them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
McMaster only requires one section of the MCAT, apparently. And then the last one is actually in Northern Ontario, and it requires like a 3.0 GPA. It's actually not that. It's not that bad. But you have
You
to
can go and be a doctor of medicine.
yes. Yeah.
I got
And
our apocalypse plan.
I was I was considering I'm like, first of all, it's Sudbury is like this is like where like much of my family
Yeah.
lives. One of the locations is in Sudbury, and I was like, let me just go back to the hometown, go get my medical degree, and then come out and like be able to apply for all of the grants.
Okay, riddle me this, folks. How bad does it have to be for two people that have spent over a decade in
Yep.
elective school, like not the mandatory school,
Postgraduate.
postgraduate? Me, 15 years after high school I've spent at, obviously I dicked around and went to a couple different things that didn't the credits didn't
Yeah.
transfer, so I had to redo a bunch. But we're considering doing more of that instead of trying to face the job market as some of the most qualified and
Yep.
intelligent people. I don't mean to be self-congratulatory, but holy fuck, if we're not employable, who the fuck is? What?
I mean, everybody has their niche, right? So like it just takes you just gotta find it. I think that also the thing is really unfortunate about academia is it has a lot to do with like there's a lot of luck and timing involved, right? So you have to find positions that are like in your wheelhouse at the time that your funding is getting ready to run out, or you get a grant, and it's all about like there's so
Mhm.
much luck involved in it, and I hate that because I'm neurotically like a control
Yeah.
freak, and that stresses me out. That
Yep.
uncertainty causes me fear. And how do I cope with that, Alicia? Why is it?
We're not on the coping
I
episode,
know,
Layla.
right?
You're gonna
That's so
have to
true.
wait another week or
I'll have to
two.
wait another week to find out what to do about all
Yeah.
this chaos. But yeah.
Yeah, today we're talking about what where trauma comes from, but like what it does. Like what are the kind of sequelae, if you will, is kind of I think what we were supposed to do. I don't know. That's kind of what
Yes, I know about the sequelae. I read
the
about the
sequelae.
sequelae.
You know the sequelae. Yeah, episode 2, fear trauma related disorders. Yeah. So we're going to talk about PTSD, obviously.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a pretty trauma's in the name. It's the T.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think
T.
that's the T is in the word. Um yeah, I think what was interesting was like there's a lot of different components that play into it, right? It's very much like which I think I mean some people might consider trauma to be more of like a psychological phenomenon, but there's quite a bit of like biopsychosocial input into it. And actually coming from a
Absolutely.
chronic pain perspective, there's a lot of similarities in the way
Yeah.
that the body reacts to it. Um
100%.
yeah, was there like anything in particular that you were like that you wanted to point out? I focused a lot on like mechanisms of like how it's sort of how PTSD kind of develops and like how fear is conditioned
Yeah.
essentially, but I feel like you looked at a slightly different angle of it, no?
Which is it's hilarious because usually I go mechanism and
Yeah.
you go social, and just naturally we kind of did the opposite because I was like basically thinking, I'm like, okay, there wasn't really anything shocking, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. Um, all of it was a little shocking the degree to which one's hunch is very much confirmed by science. So, like, I guess first of all, we should content warning. We're going to be talking about traumatic stuff.
Yeah.
I plan on talking about incidences of terror and things that have been on television, talking perhaps about, things that instigated the BLM and that sort of thing. And I will talk about them more pointedly going forward. But if that is going to be something that's upsetting to you, protect yourself because, yeah, I won't be so unalived coded about it going forward. You know what I mean, right? Well, because right now I'm trying to not say, like, the actual
Oh,
things that would
sorry.
be triggering and say, like,
I thought you meant the
if you
actual meaning of the word unalive, not the
no,
context in which you're talking around the subject.
yeah, I guess that I was kinda using unalived as, like, a stand-in for dancing around
Yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah,
September
yeah.
11th and the murder of George Floyd. Mm, yeah. Anyways, yeah, so I think the thing that I found that was like the most data backed, and I was shocked at how data backed it was, is that turns out all of us folks that were of, I can't remember the exact age, but they did a study on the formative ages, I think between 5 and 12 when September 11th happened.
Mhm.
And turns out that was really bad for all of us. It's like you're
What?
right, shock of the century,
Shook.
um, shooketh. But I think the way that it was bad,
Mhm.
and it shows us a lot about how the way that you consume media matters. And I think that was, again, not maybe so shocking, but a little bit of like a wake up call for
Yeah.
me personally in the way that I interact with news media. And now, because of course these are data from, 10 years after September 11th, which was still, the internet's way different now, right? Like,
Mhm.
the way we consume news is very different. So I'd be interested to see how the stuff that we learned from those sorts of studies can extrapolate or not onto
Yeah.
the state of internet culture and the world right now.
I don't do you want to speculate about that? Because I feel like people always talk about us being like, "Oh, this like we're all so like what's the word I'm looking for? Not dissociated. Why am I blanking on the word that I'm thinking of right now? We're so
We are dissociated.
yeah. Why am okay, anyways. I'll look up
Like
I'll look up
isolated,
a thesaurus.
alienated.
No, like we're not sensitive. We're desensitized. That's what I'm looking for to it
Oh, yeah,
now, right?
desensitized.
We talk about like the 24-hour news cycle, and I feel like
Yeah.
I do think there is like obviously like rates of anxiety and like
Mhm.
depression are the highest they've ever been in youth. So there is like some level of like global or societal impact that's happening on a large
Yeah.
scale, but I'm like I am curious to know if it's like I don't know because it's constantly happening if we're just it's also kind of like falling off in a way. If this like
Well,
trauma response is not as intense.
I think it's like you already alluded to, the biopsychosocial model of things and this intersectionality really matters because it's this really extended in
Mhm.
my head computation of how much resilience do you have? How much adverse childhood experiences did you have, like, in your immediate environment? How much did you witness on television in the forms of things like watching September 11th
Yeah.
unfold and only that for like weeks afterwards. In your formative years, how old
Mhm.
were you? Was it a sensitive period? Did your family obsess about it? Did one of your family members experience trauma themselves because of it? How proximal were you to it? And that's just about one little event.
Mhm.
And then you add on, okay, brain differences, gender differences, etc.
Yep.
And then you add on the environment that you're in right now. So me planning a wedding might be a little bit more sensy than someone that's like, you know what, things are going pretty well right now, which is, who is that? No one, but
Very few people.
never heard of her.
Yeah.
But anyways, in my head, it's this giant computation of all those things, and it's virtually impossible to predict.
Mhm.
But I would say I'm sensitized, not desensitized, if I'm self-reflecting. Do
Okay.
you think you're desensitized, or do you think you're neutral or sensitized?
That's a great question. I feel like I think I'm sensitized. No, I definitely think I'm sensitized. I notice a difference in my like baseline from having when I was living in Canada and I could kind of look at everything that was happening in the US politically from like a distant little bit arm's length. And
Mhm.
now like things genuinely like I'm like fatigued, I think, on like much
Yeah.
more on like a deep deep emotional level, constantly
Yeah.
like having to reckon with how these things are going to affect my future as a human being, as an academic, etc. So, um
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think for me there's a certain degree of um like we all experience like fatigue with news cycle, right? It's
Mhm.
inescapable, it's everywhere, it's on every platform, it doesn't matter where you are.
Mhm.
And that's exhausting, but it's also a degree of expectation on yourself and expectation on others, and the kind of like balance of compassion being like, I wish other people would act differently, and then realizing that like I wish I would act differently, but I don't have the fucking bandwidth. Like, do I want to be out there volunteering for local animal shelters and, canvassing neighbors so that they vote for the right person? Like, do I want to be doing all of that? Of course.
Yeah.
Do I wish other people did that? Of course. Do I have the bandwidth for it? No, girl.
Mhm.
Do they have a bandwidth for it? Probably not. So I like have this mix of being pissed off at everything in the state of affairs, and yet have this immense kind of like understanding for like who capitalism keeps us this way on purpose so that we are not energized enough to mobilize, right? But
Yeah, girl, it's class war.
Marxist minute for y'all.
Every day. And my
Comrades.
every minute is a Marxist minute for me these days. I've just been
I
like,
mean
yeah.
T.
I have like small realizations while I'm like in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I feel some kind of way about that. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
T.
yeah, I know, I completely understand. I think this topic is relevant because I think we all are living every day with things that are like very like I could be minor or major triggers based on our experiences, right? And
Mhm.
the news cycle is so awful constantly now that it's like I feel like every moment I'm like, okay, I'm like this far from like snapping and I gotta reel it back
Yeah.
in. Um,
Do you think it matters if you see it firsthand, like if you're watching the news, or if you're watching like the garbled version of it, like where that what's the dancing twink with the beautiful eyeliner, that Matt, his name's Matt, and he posts about news things. He's very progressive. What is his name? Matt Bernstein, I want to say.
let me look.
You'll know exactly who I'm talking about.
Not dance.
Yeah.
Do I Google dancing twink? That feels
Don't
charged.
Google dancing twink. Google Matt Bernstein. Yeah, but he does Manifest Monday. He does
Oh
the
yes,
split.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
Oh,
Matt
I've seen
Bernstein.
this. Yes.
He's very much the dancing twink, but with the takes, and he's involved in news, and like he
Yeah.
does a beautiful podcast. Anyways, um, so sometimes I'll find out because I deliberately disengage from the news because
Yes.
I have
Yeah.
very much the privilege to live a life where I do not have to interact with the news or things that are happening in the news. I recognize that, and I appreciate the living shit out of it. So a lot of the stuff I learn not from the news, but from the people that are
Hmm.
consuming the news and digesting it and then putting it out with their spin on it, which is
Yeah. I feel you. I almost entirely get my news from meme accounts now because I'm like, oh, something, and then I go Google the thing because I didn't hear
yeah,
about it,
sure.
and I'm like, oh,
Do you
this.
read the actual thing? Like, how often do you actually go in and don't just like take the Cliffs notes from titles? Not like a call out, just like on average.
What do you Okay, so I can give an example. So like um the one of the things that just like super recently happened was the White House press conference.
Right.
Um sorry, White House Correspondents' Dinner, excuse me. And there's Trump gave a speech, and one of the headlines or one of the things that happened was that he called out this one CNN reporter, Caitlin
Mm-hmm.
Collins, and tried to compare her to trans like in trans actress Dylan
Okay.
Mulvaney, and just like Trump being Trump, right? But
Yeah.
I only found out about it through like like an interview with her in the Daily Show, and then I was like, okay, what happened? So I googled it, and then I like read an article from like a couple different
Right.
sources because I was like, what
Sure.
actually? Because I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
listening to the entire speech. Fuck that.
What are
Uh,
your trusted sources? Like, how do you determine which ones are trusted?
I try to do a variety. So I mean, like the standard ones, I'll be like CNN if it's up there, New York Times. But then occasionally I'm like curious to see what like conservatives are saying about it. So I'll go to like Fox News, or I'll go and be like, how did they
Well,
spin this? And that's how I like try to
yeah.
like I try to see how, or they
The
just like don't,
ground news
yeah,
effect.
or they just
Yeah.
don't report on it. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. I say I'm about the same. Like I'll see like clips of someone saying something. There'll be like a little Instagram, like the video of the actual thing happening, like Elon Musk having a temper tantrum with that girl from The Economist. Have you seen that? That's probably the most recent piece of news that I've seen.
sorry, Elon Musk
Um,
having what?
yeah, a temper
Oh yeah,
tantrum.
the crash
Basically,
out. Yes, I saw
yeah,
that on a
when
meme
he was
account.
like, right, but in that case, funnily enough, instead of reading about it in a perspectivized, and everybody has their bias, a biased news media account, I just got to watch the guy crash out, and it
Yes.
happened to be on a meme account,
Yes.
but
It might be this.
whether or
Yeah.
not that actually matters, like I didn't care what the person posting was saying. They didn't comment on it. They just posted the video. So
Hmm.
in that way, it's almost funny that we kind of like circle back to just watching the thing again. And then I'm thinking like, is that better? Is that worse? Because then I think about September 11th and all of us at 12 years old watching people jumping off of fucking buildings and like being like, okay, sweet. So that's what we're in the gymnasium for. Okay. You know,
Wait, sorry. In did that happen in Canada too? Did everybody like
did they drink? Yes, Layla, it happened in the world.
that like everybody like all everybody's
The
schools were
entire
canceled?
school pulled
Oh,
every.
really?
I don't know if every school in Canada did it, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, mine did.
Huh.
Mine did in Red Deer, Alberta.
I mean, I like barely remember September 11th. I was literally like,
Right, because you're a little baby.
well, I was 5. No,
You were
5. I was 5.
fucking.
Map that out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
work
5
that
years. I
out.
was
Work
5
on
years
that.
old at the time. Yeah.
Work on that, Dr. Layla.
I was like, wait, how old am I?
Let me do the
When was I
computation,
born?
actually.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I was
so
like 5 years old. So I was like in kindergarten. I don't remember like anything happening at school. I remember seeing like I remember just seeing clips on the news on TV.
that's crazy. So there's a lot of times that our age gap doesn't feel like that
It
much. I'm
feels
like,
like it right
we're the
now.
same age.
Yeah.
Feels like it a lot right now. I was full blown like kissing and shit, you know? I was like grinding on the dance floor when this
I think you
happened.
were
Not
doing
when
that a
it
little
happened,
early
but
though, I'll be honest.
mm, well, I graduated in 2005, so I was a freshman, to put it Americanly.
Yeah.
Hoon hacked up a hairball for that. She's like, "Heck." But
Mama's a youth.
anyways, yeah, no, they very much dragged us in. I was in middle school, is what they
Yeah,
would
yeah,
call
yeah.
that grade in
Yeah.
Canada. But yeah, I was a freshman. So
Graduate
what?
What?
I graduated 5 years before you started. Hmm.
I'm trying to map that out. Started high school?
That can't be. That person
Old
was
man Felonious, not such an old man.
yeah, young buck felonious. Whip a snap a
mid
felonious?
mid 30s Polonius? Like,
Wait, yeah.
wait, what?
I told you. Dan was wondering why I was putting the blankie out
Because she got a little,
for
she got to
Hoon.
dig her spot.
Yeah, well, and I wanted her to have high contrast because right now she's just
She's
void
blending
pup.
into the, yeah,
So
she
I
is.
tried to give her and kitty cat in the background now too.
Oh, where?
Um,
Oh, hello.
she now
She,
just tail.
just tail. Just tail.
Yeah. Oh, you probably can't see it on the thing because I cropped my thing, so I don't know if you guys can even see this.
You
A
can see it on
tragedy. Oh
mine
no,
if
you
anyone is
can!
interested.
Oh yay! Yeah. Okay. Cute. 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 Cute.
Okay.
Oh, kitty cat go meow.
Very mouthy. Very mouthy.
There. I'll try
Yes,
and give you
so
guys
our
more hoon.
in the within
Less
our
less side of
last
Dan's head.
Hi. Within the last I tried to bring this up in our last episode, but in the last 2 months, this one who used to hate human touch has decided that she's a Velcro cat now. So she
Aw.
just, indignantly screams at us for touch. It's like, okay, gal, chill out. Chill.
Relax, man.
Young Buck
Oh,
Felonious has a
the
nice ring
rosy.
to it. I do like that. That's funny.
Yeah, young Buck Polonius. Graduated 5 years, but hmm,
I was gonna say,
I don't
sorry,
know how to
just
map
like
that.
going back on topic, one of the things I actually was really interested in was sort of this like there are certain phenotypes that are actually more predisposed to PTSD. So it's like certain aspects of your how your nervous system works, how you have your emotional processing works can actually lead you
Absolutely.
to be like more predisposed to developing PTSD. Um,
So, like, what kind of differences are we talking about here?
let me pull up the paper.
Pull up that pape. I like that you said, sorry, just to be on topic. This is the most Layla thing. The most Canadian and yet most Layla thing. Oh my god, this stupid fucking thing is doing the endless reload for me now too. What a nightmare.
So I literally have to log in to my like Microsoft Online workspace and then I have to navigate
Mhm.
to OneNote and that's the only time I can get it to consistently work. If I try to just go directly through a OneNote portal or a bookmark, it like starts auto refreshing and I don't understand why.
The thing, like, I can't log in to your thing, so I would have to go through the invite every time, I think,
I mean,
which
it should
is
be
not
added
cool.
to your OneNote, no? If it's shared with you? Is it not?
Well, so I have two separate OneNotes, is the thing. So I think I'm just accessing
I
yours.
think oh, okay. I was gonna say I've shared it
But now
to
I closed it and reopened it the same way, and now it's fine.
that's
So
chaos.
cool.
This
Riddle me that.
thanks
For added
AI
security, we
vibe
need to
coding.
further verify your account. No, it asked me to sign in, and then I
Excuse
try and
me.
sign in, and it's like, I don't want to hear
One
about
second. I
that.
want to pull up. There were two papers I wanted to pull up.
Two papes.
La, la, la.
If Kitty Cat can shake off her
Excuse me.
fear, so can we. Yes.
Yes, if Kitty Cat can shake off her fear. And that actually, that's another relevant point, is they were very traumatized cats, and it has taken literally since kittenhood, it's taken like she's 2.5 years old. And took her 2.5 years to like get used to humans and be fine with humans after like traumatic
Yeah.
experiences in young kittenhood. So, I mean, if you can compare that to like a human lifespan as well, that shit
Yeah.
will. Chronic dysregulation. There's one that talks about like phenotypes of.
I think what that kind of like your thing about the cats
Mhm.
specifically while you're looking at your stuff that
Mhm.
reminds me of is straight up most of our fears are at their most basic level a Pavlovian conditioning, right? Because
Yeah.
rarely do you develop fear out of nothing, right? Like you can get secondhand fear. Lots of children that have arachnophobia, for example, have watched their parents be
Mhm.
arachnophobic. And so it's kind of a social contagion in
Yeah.
that way. But you still have the Pavlovian effect of, holy fuck, my mom's upset because of tiny spider. Tiny spider must be upsetting. I'm learning, right?
Mhm.
But it's still a Pavlovian association at the end of the day. And even a single session, if it's aversive enough, is strong enough for your body to encode it forever, right? And
Yeah.
overcoming that is sometimes a years long process, sometimes a forever long process, and go to therapy for the rest of your life, like I will. But, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
it's interesting.
again, being a chronic pain researcher, I just see so many similarities to just like um to chronic pain in this, which is I think maybe part of the reason that chronic pain has really good efficacy. Like chronic pain treatment has really good efficacy when it's like used, like cognitive behavioral therapy is used.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
because cr- how an individual, so for instance, if a parent has chronic pain and their child is like develops a chronic pain disorder, the
Hmm.
more like catastrophizing, the more that parent responds to their pain in a negative way is actually predictive of how the child
Yeah.
will respond to it as well. And so
Right.
there is some kind of learning that's happening there. Um,
Absolutely.
and I mean, maybe you could connect it to like sympathetic regulation, like autonomic, like, I love an autonomic regulation explanation. This is like what a lot of my research is
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
But, the sympathetic system is like, it there is like some level of like heritability. So like, individuals with anxiety
Absolutely.
disorders, their children are more likely to have anxiety disorders. And there could be multiple, again, biopsychosocial components to that, but there
Hmm.
is like a highly reactive sympathetic system
Heritable.
could be heritable from your parents. So,
Yeah.
and then leads to adverse childhood events, etc.
Well,
But
there's the two hit hypothesis of stress, which
mm-hmm.
is essentially the first hit is having the predisposition to be hyper vigilant to something, right?
Yeah.
And the alternative, as someone experienced, I'd say yes, the body keeps the score. First time chatter. Welcome in, Sex VC. Wait, what?
I guess.
Mod, do you want to audit that? Because I believe, is that
Curious.
echo?
I'm gonna
Is
go. We're going to look at
yeah,
the
so
channel.
it's, I don't, sex. For a second, I was like, what?
Interesting.
Oh, are we banned them? Gone.
What?
Goodbye.
We what? Really? Okay. I was like,
Maybe a little bit excessive, but that's okay. We're fine with that. Better safe than sorry.
what was the second message?
Worst seems positive here. I don't know what the second one was.
I was curious.
Um,
Yeah, I was just going to look at the profile. It didn't seem very like particularly bot-y or anything like that.
mm, Dan Automod.
He said,
He's like, if she says anything to mod, just ban.
"Dead."
I took it on accident. Oh no!
Oh
Oh well.
no. Oops.
What can you do? That's what we do to new chatters.
Oh my god. I was gonna say maybe they were. I don't know. Maybe they were here for I don't know some
I
other.
swear our mods don't use AI.
Oh god.
Now all of our chatters have the fear that they're gonna get banned. Well, this poor guy comes in and is like, the body does keep the score. I'm going through something.
I feel so bad right now. I was like,
They'll
oh,
be
I thought it
fine.
was gonna be an interesting conversation topic. I was gonna be elaborate. What are you going through? And then he's just gone.
Well, it was their username was
That's what
sexdc.
I
I
was
see.
interested to know. I was like, oh, like what content are you here for? Like,
Maybe they're a sex researcher, right?
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
mean,
We're
yeah.
sex positive here. It's the vulgar in the vulgar science a lot of the times. We talk about the daddy list, the chicken cleavage, you know? See how little of a push we need to get right off
But
topic
back
there?
to Helena Cluckington.
Helena Clickington.
Uh,
The account was created yesterday, though. Yeah. Okay. Appreciate you,
fair,
baby.
fair.
What were we talking about? We were talking about Pavlovian conditioning. You were talking about learning,
Oh, that
and
like
catastrophizing.
like
Oh, two hit
sympathetic regulation,
hypothesis of
etc.
stress.
Yeah.
So the first hit is the predisposition,
Mm-hmm.
frequently from heritable characteristics
Yeah.
or from an unstable home life and some sort of epigenetic changes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second hit is the stress itself. So you could have this kind of latent ability and remain untriggered your whole life if you never have that second hit. But if you do have both hits,
Mm-hmm.
then you respond differently to stress. That's one hypothesis of how stress operates in the brain and the body, and then it basically turns on, not like a switch because it's a multi-system as everything is in the brain,
Mm-hmm.
but it causes a cascade of things to happen that then engender more things like that to happen. So when you encode, okay, this is a fearful thing, like I saw a snake and it bit me or something, I don't know, then you're afraid of snakes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bad example.
It bit me.
I guess. I'm like, can you tell I'm not afraid of snakes? Um, we love a snake. Uh, I lost. I
I
lost
was
the
gonna say,
plot. I lost the plot.
didn't we bring that meme up in a previous a
Snake.
snake, or something like that? I'm a snake.
I'm a snake. I don't know if we did, but
We absolutely have talked about this kind of thing before. We talked about fear encoding, we talked about fear of snakes. I brought up
well, we talked
the
about learning for
yeah.
sure, and that theory of emotion when we did our emotional one recently. Because I remember you talking about snake.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember bringing up back in the old days, the 2022, 2023 Vulgar Science was we talked about something related to fear and emotion because I brought up my um picture set that I was trying to the like affective picture set where I was trying to
Mm.
elicit emotions during like a pain protocol and seeing if that
Right.
like distraction and or like negative
Hmm.
like valence or like negative emotions
Yeah.
and like positive valence or positive emotions could alter these like pain responses. um and yeah, like a lot of the negative pictures are like snakes, spiders, and then obviously like grotesque, like gruesome, like bodily injuries to humans, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's upsetting. um
Yeah. Well, in your visual processing,
mhm.
seeing trauma, like literally, that's why you pass out when you see blood. That's why that's a very common response because you have vasovagal syncope
Yep.
and your blood pressure is like, is that my blood? I think I talked about this very recently.
I
Do you
don't know about
remember this?
on stream, but we have talked about it in the context of
Oh.
like my husband.
Yes, yeah. Well, and I'm also squeamish. Like if I particularly with my blood, not with
Mm-hmm.
other people's blood, but I haven't seen a lot of blood.
Are you one of the people who
But
passes out when you see it?
mine,
Okay, got
mine
it.
if it's lots. But anyways,
What
um,
is lots?
well, I guess I don't know. Like if I can tell that there's like some serious bleeding going on, like I cut my finger with a scalpel one time and I was like I can feel it soaking through the paper towel.
Uh,
So I was like I got to put this behind my head or I'm going to clock out like fully. And I had to get sutures, but anyways, what I was saying though is the reason that we have vasovagal syncope when you see
mm-hmm,
blood or trauma, or why you puke
mm-hmm,
when you see gross things, which is a very common response. It's arguably the appropriate response, is because your eyes are telling your brain something very bad is happening, and your brain and whatnot, when it goes into like lizard mode, if we want to use like a popular colloquialism, doesn't think rationally like, is that my blood, is that my puke, did I do that? It thinks someone around me very close to me is having a very bad time. I myself should probably evacuate all things and lower my blood pressure in case I'm bleeding, is essentially what
yeah.
your body's doing. So,
So yeah, actually, to add to that, there's a protective component too, right? So if you are bleeding, right,
yeah.
from an extremity that's
Yep.
below the neck, your and you are like you have a blood pressure drop or something like that, right? Like for
Yeah,
the reason for passing out, like your body is actually trying to get
to get you horizontal.
horizontal so that
So
you
gravity.
so that your
Yep.
more blood can go to your brain essentially for to promote like to, protect that function essentially.
Well, that and also not bleed out because higher blood pressure, more blood leave.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
why one of
Yeah, get your heart below other organs.
yeah. Well, and I mean it makes sense, right? Like bleed less, please. Also think more, better, faster. But yeah. I was back home. That's why I wasn't on stream last week, which you know, but other people might
Mhm.
not. So I saw my best friend who is a paramedic, and
Is she
she's
st-
currently
is she still or
on
she's on leave, right?
she's on leave
Yeah.
because even though she is at the surface completely fine with that sort of stuff. She's like, I'm the exact person for this job. You know, it doesn't bother me at all. I can see, like, I have a morbid curiosity about like dead bodies. I thought about being a mortician. Like, you know, she's
Mm.
just fine with that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And not when it comes to like animals or anything
Mhm.
like that, but with human beings, she's always kind of had like a medical curiosity.
Mhm.
So she's like, that's the right person for that job, is the person that's not going to be a basket case when you're giving someone CPR after a car accident or something like that, right? You need someone that's not going to clock out. So she was like that, and she's been doing emergency medicine for almost a decade now, and she's just now going on leave because it got to her in the end, and that's without it cognitively getting to her. It's not like she was going home and being like, oh fuck, like, you know, that was a really hard call kind of thing. It's she's
It was like a
going
build
home
up.
and being
Yeah.
right, well, at least at the surface, and what
Mhm.
she's told me and what is actually the case. I trust her, but you know, I'm sure there's more nuance to it that she talks about with her therapist. But the point is, the body kept the score and was just like, I'm not supposed to see this kind of stuff this regularly. It's pretty stressful. My cortisol's out of whack. Can't do it.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Well, I was going to say that, that is very poignant for me. I actually just finished watching The Pit on HBO. I don't know if you
Yeah.
have watched it. If
Yep.
any
Yep. Yep.
It is like such a encapsulates like what you're talking about, right? There's such a you see these people who are they work I think like 6 days a week in their emergency
Mm-hmm.
medicine department, and like I'm getting squeamish while they're doing certain things on
Yeah.
screen, and I'm like looking like watching through my fingers
Oh,
occasionally.
yeah.
But they're like they act so desensitized to it, and then you see them have these like small breakdowns throughout
Mm-hmm.
the various episodes, and like it absolutely gets you, and that's why there's so much like burnout and turnover in the medical field, is because
So we should become doctors in Sudbury,
not
Ontario.
in emergency medicine. And I will that
Yeah.
I have been scared away officially from watching that show, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so not the person for that job. Friend might have PTSD. Friend very have PTSD. Friend
Hmm.
diagnosed PTSD. Yes. Friend have big time. Pardon me. Yeah, it's there's a phenomena in like psychology or whatever of re-experiencing
Hmm.
that we've talked about a little bit when we talked about why were we talking about memory? Did we just have an episode on memory? An episode, a stream? You know what I
I
mean?
mean, maybe it could have been during our previous like
It
episode
feels
about
more
fear and
recent
fear.
than that. But anyways, when you recall a memory,
Hmm.
it becomes labile or changeable. It becomes subject to adjustments, which
Hmm.
is why witness testimony is dubious in courts and stuff like that, and why
Yeah.
some courts don't use that. Because each time you recall it, you basically kind of ungel it, kind of thing, and you
Mm.
can set it in a different shape, for lack of a better metaphor. But you can leverage that, right? So if you have PTSD or you know some sort of disorder related to that, or you know a trauma response, or even something like a phobia, you can be made to re-experience the inciting incident for your phobia or your PTSD or a particular, if it's complex PTSD where it's more than just one particular event,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But you can recall it, and that's what EMDR is doing. Essentially, you do active recall with bilateral stimulation. So you
Mm-hmm.
can do bilateral touch, you can do follow the blinky thing with your eyes, you can follow a pen with your eyes. And essentially, that makes for greater plasticity in fear related areas in your brain. So even though memory make problem, memory also can be solution. But yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, I'm also gonna, yeah, just for people who don't know what EMDR is, I put it on my screen. I can share it with you too if you want, Alicia, but like eye movement
yeah,
desensitization and reprocessing. And so
yeah.
this is actually, yeah, this is
I mean, it's
one,
kind of right there in the name, right?
yeah, I know it kind of
Desensitization,
explains it. Yeah.
reprocessing. But
Um,
yeah, no, go ahead, explain it more because I mean, it's an interesting and it's a newer thing. It actually was for a long time. People kind of shit on it and were like, "That's
yes.
hokey bullshit."
Yeah.
There's full science in there, but anyways, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna
Continue.
say it is definitely like considered to be like more like pseudoscience-y. However, I mean it's definitely come up again in pop culture and people talk about like, oh, I'm regulating my nervous system and they're doing like multiple taps and stuff like that. Um Here, I'll share my
It's
screen
also
with you
like
as well.
somatic therapy, I think, because people
Yeah.
that do EMDR tend to also be into this pseudoscientific somatic approaches. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes a little bit more dubious
Yeah.
because it's lumped in with stuff that's rightfully dubious. But anyways,
Yeah,
a lot of people still, yeah.
I think it's like you're adding distraction to an existing memory, right? So it's like
Mhm.
you're because you talked about this, memories are labile, right? So
Yeah,
when you are
when recall.
recalling that memory, you're adding the little bit of like information from the time that you recall it. For instance, you're petting your cat when you remember that memory. And then the next
Mhm.
time you remember it, you might remember that, oh yeah, I was petting my cat while I was thinking about this the last time. And it
Yeah,
just adding those layers of context, right?
yeah,
You're kind of re-encoding this memory in a way. So,
yeah.
and ultimately maybe watering it down, I guess is sort of the
Yeah,
goal.
I was gonna see if I could find because I did a deep dive on one of the papers that was like from a rigorous journal kind of thing about
Mhm.
specifically lateral flow eye movement, which is when people say if you're stressed, just take a little walk. The
Oh,
reason that
yeah.
that actually works is because when you get flow information, so if you were say in a simulator for
Mhm.
like driving a car, like Forza, is that a video game where you drive? I feel like that is. Anyways, if you're in one of those, even something like Mario Kart, if you have visual flow information that makes it feel like you have movement, that does something to, I can't remember what part of your amygdala, if I'm being honest. I think it might be the basolateral amygdala, but it basically makes that more plastic, so more changeable. And that is obviously really important if you're trying to recontextualize fear memories and stuff like that, because the amygdala is a hub of integration and kind of valence coding and stuff like that related to fear. It's a lot of people say it's the fear center in the brain. Fears all over the brain, but it is a crucial node in this multi-location network, if you will. Photo Chiodini, welcome in. A lot of people still consider EMDR pseudoscience. Yeah, a great paper from Kevin Van Schie and Susan something was very harsh on the practice.
Yeah, I was just gonna actually, I was reading that comment and I was pulling up the paper because I think it's relevant and
Yeah,
interesting.
let's bust that bad
Here,
boy open. Can you put the link in chat?
yeah, let me do that. Uh, it's PubMed, so it should be.
Adverse effects of eye movement.
Mm-hmm.
So before I even read it, I'm willing to bet that one of the critiques
Mm-hmm.
of this will be that sometimes recalling equals re-experiencing, like what I was talking about earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
re-experiencing can
Make it
sensitize
worse.
the
Yeah.
system. much like what we were describing colloquially, just like among us being more sensitized,
Mhm.
watching all of these things and having this lifetime of shit only getting worse. But on the other
Yeah.
hand, autogenic training was considered bullshit when it came out, and now it's a considered valid practice. Yeah, I mean, we used to think that lots of stuff that is now hard science is magic. They used to think that the whole field of psychology and neuroscience was hokum. And now look at us. Look at us. Yeah. Anyways, that's, I think, one of the most valid critiques of it is if it is not done properly and it's just done
Mhm.
by some influencer that's like, okay, watch the light go back and forth and recall it. Then yeah, you go back to
Yeah,
measure the
it apparently says that it's like, okay, so 5 of 9 reported adverse effects, mild and temporary. Okay. Uh, and then okay, potential reasons for underreporting adverse events, potential
mm-hmm.
cognitive risks such as memory blurring and subsequent risk of false memory creation. Okay.
That's memories becoming labile. That's known.
Yeah.
Hey, Bird Banes, what are we reading? We are reading a paper that is critical of eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy currently.
Mm-hmm.
What journal was this in?
This is in Current
Current Opinions
Opinions in
and Psych.
Psychology.
Okay. Zoom, please.
Oh,
Bird,
yeah.
Bird Banes said Zoom. Zoom, Zoom. Did you put the, oh, you did put the,
Yeah. Sorry, no, it is.
too.
It's so
Uh,
small. I was like, oops. Yeah, that's fine.
if you're on the Neuralesia one, I just pinned the PubMed link to it. But to do that, I did have to bump our content warning. So just more new content.
Mm-hmm.
As a 50-year-old isn't as great anymore. Well, I'm creeping up on it. I'll see you in a few years. 50. Do you think your head would have fit? Do you think your head would have fit? What are you talking
Oh,
about?
they're talking the
Oh,
pseudoscience and measurement of criminals' head size, essentially.
yeah. Well, I think the thing is that like the way that we measure intelligence, technically cranium size is highly correlated with intelligence, but that's also just because of straight up processing, like supercomputers, big computer. Like in computing, right? Like IBM Watson is not Tina who sits on my floor in her little.
Wait, what? Sorry. What? I'm confused about your analogy between head size and computer. What?
Well, so there
Maybe I'm missing
is
something.
a there is a legitimate correlation between the way we measure IQ, which, as we've talked about on stream, is fraught in many ways. But
Yes, yeah.
as we measure it, insofar as that's accurate, cranium size is related to intelligence, not criminality or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny that that is actually, for the most part, like a really strong, robust correlation. But people are like, oh, it's because, I've got a big brain and stuff like that. I'm like, no, it's just straight up like more tissue space to have things happening. Like a fruit fly, we've mapped every single Drosophila neuron because they have like 500 or something like that because they're little. You couldn't have more than 500. They don't have the
Mm-hmm.
space for it, right?
Oh,
So you get
you mean it
bigger.
in
Yeah.
the context of like species. Yes, this is true.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and also in human beings, but that's because babies small get smarter as get bigger, more
Yeah.
space for
But I
brain.
mean, it
Like,
doesn't hold up when you like do like sex difference stuff though, right? Like that's yeah. Cuz
yeah,
men
no,
are physically larger generally, so their heads are slightly bigger.
right. Yeah.
Um is skull size actually related? I Yes. Okay, so when we talk about it from a species perspective, weak to
Yes.
moderate
So,
between okay. Sorry, this is
sorry, I want to be clear to
yeah.
Birdbanes and Photopiodini that the cranium size intelligence argument is ridiculous. It is a true correlation. fruit flies are stupider than mice are stupider than dogs are stupider than, lots of things. So like across species, it's generally true. Obviously, it depends on what species how you measure it, and it's fraught from the beginning. It's not good science. But if people wanted to use that bad science to sound scientific and be like, actually, the correlation is quite robust. It is if you look at it wrong, you know. And as Layla's saying,
Mm-hmm.
if you actually look at something in a careful, robust, elegant, and careful
Yeah.
way, then it falls apart immediately. But pseudoscientists be out here.
Yes. I think it's a little bit cleaner when you do a like ratio of body size, like body
Absolutely.
mass to
Yeah.
brain. I think it's
Volume,
like
yeah.
a little bit better that way. However, that again,
Yes,
that's
just like BMI. That's a great example. That's
yes.
a really great
Yes, yeah.
example.
So it's like again, it is mostly like when you talk about species, right? Because we can talk about like
Oh, absolutely.
human brain size as compared to previous like, Neanderthals and these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So like Homo
Well, and gorillas
sapiens.
are enormous,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
arguably
Or
small.
compared to yeah, like other primates. Um and then it was actually I think there was like as part of a TED talk about this. I think it was one of the
Mhm.
more popular TED talks as well. It talked about like how humans were able to support that like additional brain function. Like our evolutionary processing has essentially jumped us forward in like
Mhm.
um with the ability to support our neural function because we started cooking our food essentially, and
Mm.
that increased like nutrient rich value, and so that
Right.
allowed us to
Interesting.
yeah to essentially jump
I
ahead
don't
and
even know how you prove that. How people, actually study evolutionary things.
I
I
mean,
have no idea, man.
evolutionary
It sounds
biologists be making things up, I'm
it
sure.
sounds like it's probably real and cool, but
Yeah, there is a TED
anyways.
talk about this that I'm sure I can find it. It was very popular. TED talk, brain
Isn't there a saying it takes
size.
10 times less effort to create fake
Scientific.
science and 10 times more effort to refute it? I mean, I don't know where those numbers come from, but that feels right. If anything, that feels low. Feels low. 100 times more. But
Yeah, I'll drop this link because it is actually, if you're interested, it's actually pretty like legit from what I remember. I also watched this like when I was in undergrad, so it was almost 10 years ago now.
were we isn't this isn't the lady that we were talking about when we did our like food recent episode where we were talking about
No.
like
Wow.
no, remember you were talking about someone
What's her
I
Uma
just remember
Naidu, or her
right
pseudoscience. Yeah, no, let's not get into
yeah
that.
when I do um I want to open my notes again. We as usual I brought us off topic. Um
Well, how does the size of our brain relate to the amount of our trauma? That actually, yeah. People who are more intelligent are more likely, or who have higher IQ, are considered to typically be sadder and like have like worse mental health, which is, I
that
think,
feels right.
that feels
That feels
correct.
right. I
Yeah.
feel smart and sad most days. I'm like I'm so smart but so sad. So sad. Um so finding out that there's a like literal dose response curve that can be generated from exposure to content with like regards to war and terrorism and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that is pretty interesting to me. And there was a paper in 2003, so it's pretty soon after September 11th and the war on terror and stuff like that, but that was kind of in the really like hot zone of those first 2 years after September 11th, where lots of stuff in the news media was almost always about like war in Afghanistan at that point, I think,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then Iraq. Was it? Or I can't remember the order. In any event,
It's a great question.
the point of this is not which atrocity were the children watching. The point is more atrocity and you get more psychological morbidities, and you also get yeah, risk of anxiety and mood disorders and aggressive discontrol problems, which led me down a slight rabbit hole about trauma related disorders, particularly from childhood, that's not so much related to seeing something horrific. Because a lot of the time when we think of trauma TM, we think of the pit, we think of bodily harm. We think of, witnessing absolutely awful things.
Mm-hmm.
When realistically, what trauma can, or something that can produce the same effects of trauma, and whether or not people definitionally include in trauma,
Yeah.
is dubious, because CPTSD, complex PTSD, is
Mm-hmm.
not in DSM 5 TR. If I'm, maybe it's just not in the 5. Anyways, it's either still not
Mm-hmm.
recognized in the DSM or only very recently recognized. Because in that case, the diagnostic criteria of having witnessed something horrible that is inherent
Yeah.
in post traumatic stress disorder, that's a necessary criteria, immediately is out the window, because what that is a repeated low level stressor or threat or neglect or a whole bunch of those sorts of things that's a little bit more nebulous. And there's an additive effect if you go home every day to a volatile parent or caregiver, for example, in foster systems and stuff like that. Even just having an unstable caregiver, even if they're not bad
Mm-hmm.
people or treating you poorly, even if they're not neglecting you, not having a stable attachment figure for secure attachment, according to this theory, is enough to instantiate this post traumatic stress like phenotype later in life. And if it looks like PTSD, talks like it, and walks like it, then why wouldn't we call it PTSD? Well, because there isn't this trauma TM event. And
Mm-hmm.
then what do
Mm-hmm.
you call it? Just life sucks? Like, there's no disorder for that, which is why people want to bring up CPTSD. So,
Yeah, I mean that's super fair. So sorry, you are right. It's not in the DSM-5. It is actually in the ICD-11 though. And for those of you who
is
don't
it in
know,
5 TR though? Because TR was from what, four
uh,
or 5 years ago?
I think it's 4 TR, right? Is
No,
even in
there's a 5 TR, I think. Isn't there?
uh no,
For those of you that don't know, the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Um, there's some sort of revision or
it's not
appendage
in
to the
there.
5.
It said apparently researchers proposed a companion category called disorders of extreme stress not otherwise specified. Whatever the hell.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, that's what they do with everything. There's eating disorder not otherwise specified. There's, whatever not
But
otherwise specified.
okay, so when they did DSM-5, it seems like they uh altered the sorry, they like expanded the definition of PTSD so it might
Okay.
encompass complex a little bit more.
Okay.
Um ICD-11 difference. It has, sorry, I'll pull this up so people can
And
actually
you
read
said
this.
ICD includes it, like proper kind of
ICD-11,
thing.
yeah. So for those of you who
Okay,
don't
good.
know what ICD is, it's essentially this like international like coding system for different diseases.
Yeah.
And
Not
so
just mental disorders either, right?
yeah, it's like pretty much all. And so this is what pretty much any time, like now that I work in like the school of medicine, I like hear about these
Yeah.
all the time. And essentially this is how people will do analyses across various data sets, if they're like large scale data sets, and sort of keep consistency in like individuals' diagnoses is using these code systems. Um,
Yeah.
must first meet, okay, so core PTSD requirements for must first meet standard re-experiencing, avoidance,
Hmm.
and hyperarousal. Okay, so this is
Right.
they're having a recurring memory. They are changing their behavior because of it, and it is negatively affecting them. They're having an arousal
Hmm.
response.
Right.
Affect regulation, so severe trouble managing feelings, explosive anger, emotional numbing, negative self concept, so they feel shame, guilt, and then
Yeah.
relational struggles, persistent difficulty feeling close to or trusting others.
Right. And that is one of the few, this was something that I learned that it makes sense now, but it's one of the few disorders, PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't have an age requirement for diagnoses. Because lots of them are like symptoms had to have developed before the age of blah,
That's
blah, blah, kind
super
of thing.
fair, yeah.
Yeah, but PTSD, it doesn't need to, which I found really interesting. So there's actually a whole suite of disorders
Mm-hmm.
um, that are specific to children that are kind of related to this like
Yeah.
ineffective or traumatic or anywhere in between caregiving, called disinhibited social engagement disorder is one of them,
Hmm.
which is basically lots of kids in care, unfortunately, like foster care and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, or child serve. I don't know what they call it in America, but um,
Yeah, it's also foster care. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's same
but
system.
there's child protective
Yeah,
services.
yeah, yeah.
Um, children that have been in and out of that system or through that system, or even just have unstable home lives, frequently don't know how to relate to other humans very well, so they'll do it in a disinhibited way, and so they'll inappropriately hug a complete stranger and are very liable to like just go with fucking anybody, because in foster care, of course, they're told like, these are your new parents today. And then,
Mm.
etc. So they're taught, okay, and now you have to be familiar with this person. So they kind of generalize that behavior
Interesting.
onto, and that's a full-blown disorder. I had no idea. But that is one of the trauma and stress related
Huh.
disorders. And then there was another one, I think, called reactive attachment disorder. Um, let me double check my facts
You
here.
coming to say hi? Come on. Sorry, kitty cat.
I don't know what I do
Yeah.
with it. But lots of
Mm-hmm.
these then correspond to later diagnoses in adulthood of things that you would predict: BPD,
Yeah.
substance abuse, those old
So it
classics.
starts with like social relational abnormalities and then it kind of continues developing into
Yeah,
other
so to
super
receive this diagnosis of disinhibited social engagement disorder, a child must fulfill 5 strict criteria. And it sounds like I
mm-hmm.
think they have to fulfill all 5. Pattern of behavior characterized by active approach and interaction with unfamiliar adults. This includes at least 2 of the following: lack of reticence, overfamiliarity,
Hmm.
diminished checking back with actual caregivers, and willingness to go with strangers.
Willingness.
Behaviors cannot be explained by diagnosis of a different type like
Mm-hmm.
ADHD,
Yeah.
and it's not restricted to acts of impulse, because children are impulsive just by nature,
Yeah.
and particularly children that are, maybe parented differently are also, a little bit more impulsive. So it can't be explained only by that. And then history of insufficient care, social neglect, changes in caregivers, or rearing in institutional settings like orphanages, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the behavior has to be, this is where it starts to get subjective, that the second to last criteria is that the behaviors have to be believed to be caused by the caregiving circumstances in the previous criterion, and the child has to be at least 9 months old, and I think can only be up till I think 18 or something like that. But coworkers that don't believe the earth is round, oh my god.
Are you all good? Can you come? Sorry. Pinky's having a heyday
I'm
over
trying
here.
to catch up on
Yeah.
chat.
How
Foster
prevalent is
kids
this
inhibit.
random hugging disorder? I mean, it is interesting because I'm thinking
I
about
don't think it's very
some of the people I know that have been in the system and like yeah, I mean,
prevalent.
it is actually so interesting that these disorders overlap heavily in behavior
Mm-hmm.
with ADHD, autism, right? Because it's like these
Mm-hmm.
are all, and I mean, adverse childhood events are like often associated with all of these things. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I guess I never considered it like that. That's such an interesting perspective of like, oh yes, they have to like become comfortable with people so quickly and therefore they have like issues with like who is like a safe space and who is not, right? Strangers are considered a safe space to them. Then they have this maybe this phenomenon of oversharing for the rest of their lives. So like that's I don't know, that's
Well, and that was one of the downstream sequelae of it, right? Because
mm-hmm.
like children already are just like,
Ba, 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 ba. Yeah.
yeah, they'll just tell you their whole life
Yeah.
story with like zero provocation. But when people carry that into adulthood, that isn't pathologized. That's not a diagnostic criteria for anything that I'm aware of. Granted, I have not read the entire DSM,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's just like, oh, she's an oversharer. That one,
Yeah.
you know, get her
Yeah.
done, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
It's like girl
Uh,
had complex PTSD when she was a child.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
girl had disinhibited social engagement disorder,
Yeah.
and then she aged out of it, and she was fucking fine. Just
Yeah.
kidding. Um, it looks like the incidence is 1 to 3%, depending on where you sample it from. And that's just a very quick skim to answer your question of how prevalent these random hugging disorders are. And they're very frequent in people that have been in child jail. Kid, what do they call that?
Juvenile detention.
Yeah, that one. Child.
Child jail.
Well, it is that.
It is in
That's
fact
what it
that,
is.
yes.
It's calling it some dumb fucking, I don't know. I get it, but like,
Jail for them
intellectualizing the
kids.
word doesn't make it not jail, but child jail. Anyways, child jail 10 out of 10. Sorry, guys. I have no filter. Maybe I had disinhibited social engagement disorder as a child and grew up to be this person.
Okay. I think it was one of the other disorders we've been talking about, but anyways.
I know it's a couple of them, but that's not what we're discussing. Our diagnoses are for us.
Okay, sorry. So I love this strain of thought. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any other papers that you wanted to highlight. I wanted to just like briefly go into like a few of like the markers that you would
Yes, please
expect.
do.
So,
Please do.
I briefly talked about that there's like these like phenotypes that are associated with it, right? So um, one of the things that let me see if I can find it again because I've lost it in my notes. Um, okay, so on the social side, that individuals who are more predisposed to this from an emotional side, that they have differences in social information processing. So individuals with ADHD, for instance, have like rejection sensitive dysphoria often. And this is similar, I would say, but differences in social processing, kind of like what you were saying. So heightened perceptual sensitivity to threat, misclassifying emotions as anger are examples of this.
How do
And then
they categorize these things? Like there must be an inventory, I would imagine.
let me look. Let me pull up the paper.
Sorry, I don't mean to nitpick it. This
No,
isn't your
you're
research. I'm
totally
so curious, right?
yeah.
Because I mean, there's pain catastrophizing scales, and if I was
Yes.
not a pain researcher and someone was like a catastrophize, like which one, or sorry, if they were saying something was
Mm-hmm.
related to the degree that someone catastrophized, I'd be like, how the fuck do you measure catastrophizing? Like,
Yeah, it's like what
what on
this?
earth, And sometimes looking at that really crystallizes
Mm-hmm.
what that word is
Yeah.
operationalized to be kind of definitionally bound to, because when people use scientific words outside of science, sometimes I'm like, that's not how we use it. Doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong, but we're not talking about the same thing, even though we're using the same word. You know?
Well, I was actually
Anyway.
gonna say you bringing up like that is like the word psychopathology is coming up, but I was like, this is not
Hmm.
psychopathy. This is just
Yes.
like abnormal psychology, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so changes. Okay, so maybe actually I might be wrong about this. This is after they're exposed to trauma. This is not a phenotype that
Hmm.
exposes you. But it's at least to like these changes in emotional regulation. So you see heightened
Sure. Yeah.
perceptual sensitivity to threat, misclassification of negative and neutral emotions, attention
Hmm.
biases toward threat-related cues, and then emotional processing also changes with having low emotional awareness, higher reactivity to threat stimuli, and then
Hmm.
just difficulties with emotional learning and emotional regulation, which is probably why
Yeah.
individuals with neurodiversity are more likely to then have these issues, probably, but to experience.
Yeah. Well, and like threat sensitivity is something that we even use in preclinical models, because you can test for that by doing a
Yes.
fear conditioning model where you
Mm-hmm.
just pair something that will induce fear in this organism with a cue, and then you see how reactive they are to that cue. And some of them are more reactive, some of them are less reactive, and that's how you kind of get this phenotype. And of course,
Yeah.
there's genotypes related to that phenotype that you can boil down if you do a genome-wide association study in human beings, at least. But transdiagnostic mechanisms.
Yeah. So okay, they'd characterize this image as like kind of
Mm.
outlines some of them, but they're not describing how they're like measuring it. They're just putting this model out there. So maybe it's something I'm not like well versed in essentially. Um how did they are these like questionnaires that they so,
Pubertal timing, so like accelerated biological aging. That's crazy.
interesting.
It's not actually that crazy. So someone I know studies the effect of BPAs, the buprophenolphthaleins or whatever that are in plastic,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
it. Don't laugh at me for not knowing what BPA stands for, but um, that induces early onset puberty, particularly in girls, and it leads
Hmm.
to all kinds of bad shit. Yeah, terrible, terrible. Don't give your
Oh, actually, I
don't.
think I knew this, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. Yeah, and that's why there's a trend of like um across like longitudinally menarche is actually getting earlier and earlier.
like so much earlier.
Yes, yeah.
Like kids that are fucking 9 are getting their periods. That's
Yeah.
absolutely psychotic. It's not psychotic. That's not the word I want to use. I take that back. That's it's really interesting. It's weird. Did you
That's
say menarche? Menarche. This.
menarche, not to be confused with the patriarchy. Um
That's a great book from Julia Doug, whatever about that. About early onset.
Julia whatever this description of a person. Julia Doug, whatever.
Whatever. I mean, if you're not amongst
is
your people,
is the,
if you start listing like, oh, there's a great book from fucking whoever,
but also
then
this
you're in the right place.
I was gonna say this name also is like, is that that's a name? Like Julia Duck.
From fucking hula hoop Doug. Yeah, I don't know.
I get,
Um,
and then the whatever after just like adds to it. Sorry, I was just who dis.
who does
Sorry.
who do beauty?
Transdiagnostic mechanisms. I don't. They don't really describe
It's
how they're
probably one of those
actually.
things where they say like using established methods and then
Yes.
link another
Yeah.
paper because they probably have a word count. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, so resilience. I mean that's something we should definitely talk about while we
Mm-hmm.
still have time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there are these protective factors, right? Like
Yeah.
simply there are. It's basically usually the inverse of the risk factors, as is the case in many things.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as ones that you can control, there are recent research from 2022 talking about how doom scrolling, this is specific to the pandemic, so
Mm.
grain of salt for how it applies to other things, but doom scrolling about pandemic related media post pandemic versus watching traditional news media like CNN coverage on it, the doom scrolling caused significantly worse incidences of psychopathology. So they're saying that, hold on, I want to see exactly what they found. Multi-level modeling. Okay. Social media exposure was associated with increased depression and PTSD. This association was, of course, stronger for those with severe maltreatment histories. So that kind of harkens back to the two-hit hypothesis we were talking about at the beginning, where if you had one shitty thing happen and then that makes you hypersensitive or sensitized to subsequent stuff. Like that cat ad.
I know.
She go bonk on the microphone.
I know. She keeps wagging her tail. I'm like, can you stop that,
Bonk.
please?
I found it. I was close.
Big bum. I think he's got a big
Um,
bum.
so those with more severe baseline psychopathology used social media more as well during this traumatic period. So it seems to be this kind of like cyclical thing where if you had a shitty childhood, you're more likely to engage in these avoidance mechanisms. And the
Yes.
more you engage in the avoidance mechanisms, the more likely you are to have worsening psychopathological outcomes. And you fucked.
You done fucked up. Yeah, and this is why we need to go to therapy.
Well, and also intervene on yourself.
Yes.
Know that these things, like, yes, it's worse if you had an adverse childhood experience,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also not great if you didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I think a protective factor that you can't control in your life history is one thing, but somewhere that you can bolster protective factors like interacting in person with people, or if you can't, interacting over video and stuff like that. We
Mm-hmm.
were talking about like loneliness in our loneliness stream, and I think we touched on a couple of things there as well. So yeah.
Okay. Also, I'm trying to think of there's one of these other things that I wanted to point out. Oh, so okay. One of the other papers that I was showing is there. So I mean, there are people that are going to be predisposed. Then obviously,
Mm-hmm.
environment comes in. If you have more of these experiences, you're more likely for them to become like traumatic and affect your daily life. Um,
You mean like an adverse childhood experience, like the more frequently that you like are yelled at viciously by a parent
yes,
kind
like
of thing?
yeah, if we're talking
Okay.
like complex PTSD, like the more
Sure.
yeah,
Right.
like
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
more of those experiences that happen. One of the things that constantly came up was like amygdala function in this, like that there are
Mm-hmm.
like neuroendocrine and neurotransmitter pathways that are associated with the amygdala that play into this. And I know that you do stress research. I know, is there anything like I know and you love the amygdala, so like is there
I
anything
don't. I hate the fucking thing. I never want to talk about it again in my professional life, but I'll happily talk about it in this context because
Mhm.
it's a lot less stressful.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, when we talk about like your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, your HPA
Mhm.
axis, which is essentially your hormonal system that causes this cascade that mounts your sympathetic response to a threat or a fear or whatever stressor it is in your life, releasing cortisol, all those sorts of things. What that is related to, because that's a hormonal cascade, uh, that's instantiated by something that happens in the brain, right? You get visual information, smell, sound, whatever it is, um, that tells you this is something to be feared. Do the fear response. That is related to amygdala function. It's not something where it's like, if you turn down the amygdala entirely,
Yeah.
you're going to be fine, because there's so many subcompartments of it that relate to different parts of fear or
Mhm.
different parts of reward. Particularly threat avoidance is one of them. Valence attribution, so how negative something is very much governed by, I believe, the basolateral amygdala. It doesn't really
Mhm.
matter to most people here, but there's certain parts of it that will more heavily encode something negative, and that's its job, is to basically act as a gate and be like, oh, negative information, come on through, buddy, you
Mhm.
wait, kind of thing, to other information.
Yeah.
And it basically kind of, I won't say that it like speeds it up, because like the actual temporal thing is not changed,
Mhm.
but it makes it so that it's kind of like a fire together wire together, and creates a easier connection subsequently through that mechanism. But that happens all over in the brain. It just so happens that when it comes to fear, amygdala is one of the key nodes for that, and does a billion other things too, but those are the ones that I know about.
Yeah. Photopiadini had a good question about the amygdala's role in addiction response as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. uh it's one of many
Yes, yeah.
areas that drive addiction response. I would say if you were going to pick like the area that is like, if I had to be like pseudoscientific and pop culture about it, I would say that it's your VTA and nucleus accumbens, which is your ventral tegmental area. There's basically a highway between those two, mostly one directionally, VTA to nucleus accumbens.
Mhm.
That area, the striatum, is what we call it, if you wanted to just kind of bundle those all together. There's other things that are in the striatum, though. So grain of salt there too. But that would be the area that I would say is most related. Again, the amygdala does this valence encoding. So when you have, say, a negative experience, say withdrawal, you have a negative withdrawal experience,
Mm-hmm.
that's being gated by the part of your amygdala that's responsible for that, saying, like, this mega sucks. Let's not do this. So when you have the opposite response, when you sate your craving and treat your withdrawal in such a fashion, you then tell your dopaminergic striatal signaling that things are going well, and that turns up reward, yes, but it also disinhibits other regions to allow for this is less no, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
So it's less
Yeah.
break. When we talk about disinhibition, the easiest metaphor that you can think of is gas and brakes. And there are things that just basically take foot off brake. They don't put on gas, they take foot off brake.
Oh
So you
yeah.
won't go more if you take your foot off the brake, but you won't not,
Yeah.
you will not go
You're
less.
decelerating, not or you're not
Yeah.
decelerating. But you're not accelerating.
Right. Yeah. It's a bit of a complicated thing that happens so much in the
Mm-hmm.
brain because we have these two. I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna get deep in the sauce. I'm done. I'm. I will get so deep into this. I'm sorry.
I'm screaming.
You say addiction, and I'm like fiending for it.
I
You
know.
know,
I
I
was
want to
like, as
talk
soon as
about
somebody
it.
brought it, I was like, well, we could just let Alicia go off for the next 30 minutes if she wants. Um,
God,
I know you
it's
love
so
it.
true.
We really do. I've been wanting to do an episode on like the opioid crisis, and I feel like you could get into addiction with that as well. I know how
I
much
mean, we
you.
could do a whole fucking series if we wanted to. I did once upon a time when I first started streaming. I started doing each of the types of drugs of abuse, like how stimulants work, how, sedative hypnotics work, how
Mm-hmm.
acid works, and that sort of thing. It was actually pretty interesting. And there's probably a decent amount of updates to that because it was years ago, but yeah.
Yeah. Photopiedini addiction absolutely has hereditary components. I think this is like fairly well established in the literature, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah. I mean, depends what you call heritable because hereditary
Yeah.
components to someone outside of genealogical research
Oh,
just
that means
means
genetic.
yeah,
Yeah.
can you inherit this from your parents in some sort of fashion, whether it's epigenetic
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. But what they mean when they talk about like actual heritability scores in that type of science is a very specific kind of thing. So yes, it's heritable, but it's more aspects of the thing are heritable than just there's a gene for addiction and you got it because your mom had it.
Yeah.
It's very much not that simple.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like, yeah, like in a sort of like colloquial sense, people use hereditary and genetic kind of like
Yes,
interchangeably, and like
exactly.
those are not the same.
Yeah.
In the same way that we were talking about like sympathetic regulation and how that like there
Mhm.
are aspects of your nervous system, of your biology, obviously, that are passed on from your,
Yeah,
predecessors.
absolutely. Hmm.
This these all interact with like your environment and like things that you're
Yeah.
consuming. Uh
Nature versus nurture, am I right?
yes, in similar ways. So yeah, absolutely there's
Yeah.
heritable aspects of that. Um
Yeah. Our best actual gene specific or like the most specific thing I think that
mhm.
we have to say about addiction being the kind of cultural version of heritable is that there are things called single nucleotide polymorphisms. So if you remember your ACTG, the way that your DNA goes together in the helix,
Guanine.
those those nucleotides match together. And if you have a polymorphism, it means it changes in some way at one of these nucleotides, a single nucleotides, S and P, we call them SNPs. There are changes to certain ones of those that encode for specific subtypes of dopamine receptors that are very much shown in like genome-wide association studies and actual studies of those specific nucleotides to be different in a heritable fashion. So if you wanted to call on something that's close to a gene for addiction, that would be the best you could do. But the thing is, dopamine has to do with everything. So that just simply, there's plenty of people that would have that polymorphism and would not have addiction. So it's just very not that clean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yet again, it was my mom's fault.
Always,
Yeah.
always. There's actually, you know what I saw recently? So I have been under the impression that obviously like there's this idea in science, and I actually don't know what the evidence is for this, that women are born with all of their eggs already, right? And so
I've heard that.
technically that means that like 50% of your DNA was inside your grandmother, right? Because it was inside your mom as a baby. But that actually is now being
What?
okay. Your
Hold
grandmother
on. I have to.
Your
A
grandmother
moment.
fully formed your mother inside her body with all of her eggs as like a
Well, she half
newborn.
formed her. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh well. Sorry. Yeah. I get it.
And then 50% of your DNA is in one of those eggs. And therefore that
Mm-hmm.
egg was also inside your grandmother. So 50% of your DNA was inside your grandmother.
I don't think that maths out. I'm not willing to die on the hill.
What do you explain? Explain why no
Well,
math.
it gets quartered at the grandmother level, surely.
No, 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 no. It's not in your grandmother's egg. It was inside your mom right before she was born. It's in the egg that's in your mother,
Oh, I
inside
see.
your grandmother.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I get you. I was just like,
Qua?
that's good. I'm like, no, it's a quarter the same. That's why you have four grandparents. One, what? I thought for a second, I was like, have I fundamentally misunderstood
Misunderstood
fucking genealogy
the
and
math.
family trees? I was like, oh no. Okay, yeah, I
Um,
feel you. I feel you.
it's just the math meme. Like, what's happening?
Right, I'm
Um,
Zach Gallagher.
yeah. So, but apparently that's actually being challenged in science that women are born with all of their eggs, and I'm like, now I'm like, this.
Sounds dubious. I've heard it. I don't know that. Yeah. Do you believe it? Do you think that's?
I mean, it seems so. I'm like, now I have to go back and look at the evidence base for this because I'm like, did people just make that shit up? Like, was this one of the things where it's like, oh yeah, you can't like you lose fertility at like age 35 or whatever because they just stopped measuring at age 35. Like,
Yeah, that old classic. Yeah, yeah. Or babies don't have pain because we never measured pain in babies and they're always crying. That was a fun one to do up until the 80s.
oh yeah, yeah. Yup.
Um, babies very much do feel pain, by the way, folks. In
Mm-hmm.
case anyone was still worried about whether
Yeah.
or not that's true, they for sure
Analgesic
do.
treatment for babies was not a thing until the 80s. It's kind of fucked.
Did you just say analgesic?
Analgesic.
Oh, I thought you said analgesic. I'm like, what's
Girl!
happened to you? Do you have a California accent that I am not aware of existing? Analgesic.
Don't hit me with the analgesic, fuck.
Not before you buy me a drink, at least.
Buy me dinner first, please.
Can you hear my future husband in the background going, ah, Jesus?
Analgesics. Analgesis.
Can
I
you hear
hear
that one?
it's a loud sigh.
Yeah.
Shit.
Love that.
All right, there, Peanut Gallery. Wrap it up.
Did you know that
All right.
apparently that's a racist term? I did not. The peanut.
Peanuts Gallery?
Yeah.
No! I thought
Apparently.
it was the Peanuts comic.
We did this last time.
We did this last time?
Did we already do
And I
this?
forgot. We did this? I said Peanut Gallery. I probably was talking to him. Fuck. Do we have memory loss? Do we?
I mean, we talk to each other 2 hours almost every week. I be forgetting.
Yeah, you know what? T.
It has something to
I'm not gonna
do
feel
with
too bad.
like black people being in the back in the gallery and something about throwing peanuts. I don't remember. Let's Google it.
Here I'm thinking I'm like art galleries and highfalutin stuff, and there's no way that racists 100 years ago would have associated nice things with black people when they were doing that because they were assholes.
Oh, cat hair. Pup.
Oh, lovely.
Racial undertones, vaudeville, segregation, something. Upper balcony areas were only sections designated by black patrons. What do the peanuts have to do? They name also stems from patrons and those cheap seats eating and occasionally tossing peanuts. Okay, yeah.
All right. I learned that spooky, as in spooky season, is also
Yeah,
not
because it
great.
comes from the word spook, which is...
Well, I think it's actually the word spook existed and then they did the thing where they
Yes.
make it awful by associating it with people in a pejorative kind of sense and then
Yeah.
they ruin it for everybody. Yeah, that's fun. I'm trying to see if I have any more.
I know, I'm also kind of at the end. I feel like, again, we kind of were, from the jump, we were like, oh, it's all a little, it was like, to be expected, right?
Yeah.
I did think it was, I did, like, again, the autonomic stuff is interesting to me. I feel like maybe my perspective of PTSD was, like, it had much more cognitive elements, but it does feel like it's, like, very much almost like a disorder of arousal, and then also, like, the memory cognitive portion, is involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would tend to agree. Shock of the century. Because a lot of the time when people that are having a traumatic flashback, if you will, which is like that re-experiencing we talked about, it will be something that is kind of bewildering. Lots of people will kind of do the dissociative sort of response to it. They'll have trouble remembering their remembering sometimes, and it will kind of cause this sort of confusion or inappropriate emotional responses, right? But mainly as a result of the frustration of not understanding why, if my cognitive brain knows that I'm safe in my bedroom, but I hear a noise, if you use the like classic version of like shell shock PTSD,
Yeah.
like the frustration of knowing that you can't control that
Yeah.
does suggest to me, just from an anecdotal point of view, that it almost has to be to some degree a disorder of arousal. But that arousal misfunction or dysfunction, sorry, is what then causes the emotional dysregulation because
Yeah. I mean, there's these emotional theories that we can like talk about of like, I think it's like Schachter Singer or like Canon Bard or whatever. I can bring them up.
Oh yeah.
Theories of emotion. I think
I
there's only
remember
3.
when I was first, like, I was quite young. It was when I was working at American Apparel. I was having panic attacks in the bathroom, like, daily
Oh, because
at
it
the mall
was, a healthy work environment.
because it was a healthy work environment.
Did you watch the documentary?
Of course I did. I barely scratched the surface. I think we've talked about that on stream too.
Yeah, I think we have.
Do we ever talk about anything original, or do we just say the same Marxist shit every fucking time?
we just be saying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. And now I forgot what I was talking about because my brain.
Your panic attacks at American Apparel.
Oh yeah, and they were my therapist at the time, who this didn't work. Was like, you have to practice having panic attacks. So he wanted me to like make myself hyperventilate like on my own terms, because I would be like, I don't want to do this at work. I ruin my makeup. I come out looking all splotchy and red faced. I'm a fucking manager. I can't be doing this. And he's like, okay, trying to make it so that it seemed like I had control of them. I'm like, this is not effective. All you're doing is making my body's kept score come out and be like, and not good.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the fuck that came from, but that was like, this guy was like $300 an hour fucking 20 years ago. This is crazy. Practice having a panic attack. I mean, I get it if you have a certain type of.
Practice having a panic attack.
Practice.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it's like those. That's one of the few situations where I'm like, there's not a lot you can. I mean, unless other than like, for instance, having like a seizure, right? You're like, okay, I'm preparing my body for this thing that's gonna be like awful, and I'm gonna make it as safe as possible. Okay, sure, you could maybe say that, but I'm like, what are you controlling anything about yourself in a panic attack?
I think he was trying to do it kind of like exposure therapy in a way. But I'm like, that's not what this is. Like, we're not. I don't have a phobia. I don't know. Anyways,
This is
clearly it
different.
didn't work because I continue to have panic attacks just regularly
Mhm.
on and off for the rest of my entire life. That's fun.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's it.
So just
Oh,
really quickly,
Ken Bard.
the 3 theories of emotion. So it's like a panic attack is actually a good example of this, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
some people don't even like it just comes on, right? So sometimes there is a stimulus, but sometimes you don't have the cognitive context to know why you're having a panic attack. Sometimes they just
Mhm.
happen, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
is the physiology first? Is the emotion first? Or are they together? I'm very much a fan of Canon Bard because I am a nerd.
Yeah,
But
I'm with you.
but yeah, I mean it's some people are like, okay, the physiology happens first and then you cognitively label that as an emotion.
Yeah.
And so people
Okay.
say that
Do
you
you
could.
think that's gendered?
How do you mean?
Well, so the amount of times that I hear like men in particular explaining them having a panic attack for the first time, they're like, I had no idea what was going on. I just, my heart was racing out of my chest. And I'm like,
I thought I was
you're
having a heart attack.
exactly. And I'm just like, excuse me, what? So that would be a James Lang interpretation of
Mm.
emotion processing. And
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I don't know very many women, probably none, that have anecdotally told me face to face that they were like having a panic attack and didn't know that it was a panic attack. So I wonder, and the amount of times
Hmm.
that I get anxious about getting anxious and then give myself more anxiety because I'm worried about the anxiety that I might have. Like, she's over on the common sense
Yeah.
interpretation end of things here, according to your chart.
I don't know. That's a
Anyways,
good
that
question
popped into
because I
my
mean,
head.
like, this is the same sort of theory that says, like, if you're feeling aroused, heightened before like an oral talk that you're gonna give, like
Mhm.
you can try to label that as excitement as
Excitement.
opposed to as opposed to
Yeah.
fear, and try
Yeah.
to like make your brain like trick your brain into it that being something
Mhm.
different. And
That
I'm
old
like,
top-down processing.
yeah,
Classic.
and I just like I don't know. I think maybe you're right. Maybe there's like a level of like non-emotional intelligence that you need to like make this theory work.
Those are your words. I'm not the one throwing stones at the men this stream, Layla. I will not be easily entranced into that. I love men. There are no flaws.
The I didn't say anything about men, but anyways. The emotional having the like I guess the common sense approach, which yeah, is like the Schachter singer or whatever, is that the emotion
Mhm.
comes first, right? And then the physiology. So it's like something happens, oh, I'm afraid, and then your blood pressure rises, right?
Mhm.
Um yeah, and I think that there's so many instances of these things. I don't think that that's like necessarily true, right? I think it very much is that they happen
It's
at the same time.
bi-directional, almost
Yes,
certainly.
yeah.
Like, it's
Because
kind
you
of almost
can
preposterous to think that
like
it
if you
wouldn't
can,
be.
yeah, if you can self-soothe, right, then
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
hmm. Anyways,
Oh my god, I'm so tired. Huh. It just came on me like a puma, a mountain lion.
it jumped on my chest.
Yeah. Like a puma, as they say in the UK.
They say puma. They put a Y in
Yeah,
there.
I mean, on television that I watch, sometimes they'll say puma, but I don't know if that's them being like affectatious or genuine.
Hmm.
They say a
A,
lot of
a
stuff different than we
penguin.
do. A penguin. Man.
For those of you who don't know what we're referencing, there's a Benedict Cumberbatch video where he just says penguin, mispronounces penguin like several times in a row.
He narrates an entire nature documentary saying penguin wrong.
Penguins. The penguins.
The penguins. Yeah, it's pretty good. And I learned about that through a meme and then I think he watches himself doing it and people making fun of himself on Graham Norton.
Yes, I think I saw the Graham Norton video before I
That's
saw
where,
anything
yeah,
else.
same. Yeah.
Anyways.
All right, folks. I'm toast.
Toasty or toast?
Both. It's like a zillion degrees here as usual, but
Oh,
what are you
yeah.
talking to you living in a spicier place year round than I
I was
do?
gonna say, I do not envy the East Coast anymore. Dry heat, I will take any single day. over the humidity. I've been back.
Yeah, I don't know what's worse.
I've been back a handful of times and I said, I don't know if I can do this.
You also have curly hair, which I know is like a thing for humidity, so I don't
But
know
you
if
just don't like
that's...
sweat. Like you don't none of your sweat evaporates, so you just like stay hot and there's no like
Yeah, I
recourse.
suppose. I don't know. I get nosebleeds if it's too dry in my skin.
That's
Like I need lip balm like 75 times more than I actually
super fair.
do already, which is lots. Case
Yeah,
in
I
point.
definitely my lotion budget has gone up significantly.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you everybody for being here. Alicia,
Yeah.
are you feeling compelled to rate out Mademoiselle? Mademoiselle for 3 more months. Soon to be Madame.
No, doctor all the time.
Oh, wait. C'est ça.
don't mademoiselle. I don't know who's on. I don't have a lot of bandwidth for life.
Let
And
me
I have
look.
to. I've had to pee for the last like
Okay,
hour.
then we'll. It's fine. We don't have to today. It's okay. We'll chill.
Did we do it last time, or did we?
We
Did we
did in
skip last
fact
time?
do it last time.
Okay. Well, we did say we would make sure we do it every second time, so we could. I mean, get away with it. I guess is not really. It's our stream. We're allowed to do whatever the fuck we want.
Yes. I mean, yeah, Twitch etiquette is, I put my elbows on the table. It's fine.
Yeah, bitch, coming at you. Yeah. Okay, then let's skip it. No rate this time. I'm gonna go eat. I realize I haven't eaten since like 11 this morning. About halfway through stream, I was like, great, good idea, Alicia. So I'm gonna go do that.
Thank you all for being here. This has been Vulgar Science with Dr. Layla Shode.
And Dr. Alicia, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, chatters. Thank you, lurkers. Thank you all. We appreciate you.
And we'll be back probably in 2 weeks because I'm traveling again next week.
I am also going to be seeing his best man or one of his best men. And it doesn't, I might, yeah, same. 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Bye.
See you in 2 weeks, folks. Bye.